Hajime, an average high schooler, is the class clown and faced bullying from some of his friends. However, the girl he liked, Kaori, always stood up for him. One day, he and his classmates, along with their hot-ass teacher Miss Aiko, were reincarnated into another world. They discovered that they had been bestowed special abilities by God and were now called the God Chosen. In this new world, demons and humans had been fighting for years, with both sides suffering heavy losses. However, the demons gained an advantage by controlling monsters, and so the God Chosen were asked to fight for the humans. Amagawa, the class president, fancied himself as the hero and rallied everyone to fight for the people. Even though their teacher tried to stop them, they ignored her and agreed to take up the challenge. The king and the pope asked the royal commander, Meld, to take Hajime and his friends to train in the labyrinth. Once inside, Hajime's abilities proved less suited for combat. He could only use transmute to manipulate object shapes. His friends had to protect him, and his crush, Kaori, was always there to support him. However, Hayama, who also had a crush on Kaori, hated and bullied Hajime. During their exploration, they came across a shining glance crystal, often used for engagement rings. Kaori says,
"It's beautiful."
So Hayama gathered all his simping power to try and grab the crystal for her without checking for traps. This act accidentally transported them to level 65 of the labyrinth, where monsters started to spawn. Among them was a formidable behemoth. The commander ordered them to run while some stayed behind to hold the behemoth back. Despite deploying a shield, the behemoth shattered it instantly. During the chaos, Kaori fell to the ground, and Hajime, with all his determination, used transmute to slow down the monster and buy her time to escape. His friends promised to save him, and after ensuring everyone else was safe, they covered him by launching spells at the monster. Unfortunately, one of the spells hit Hajime, and he fell deep into the labyrinth. Hajime woke up deep in the labyrinth, surrounded by darkness. He wondered how he survived the long fall. As he explored, he encountered a seemingly weak rabbit, but it turned out to be a powerful monster that sliced two attacking wolves in half. Just as Hajime was about to be attacked by the rabbit, an even larger monster appeared and killed the rabbit, devouring it. Afraid the monster was going to touch his ass, Hajime ran from the monster, but it caught up to him, cutting his arm and eating it. Cornered and scared, he used his ability to transmute and created an opening in the wall, crawling deeper into the labyrinth where the monster couldn't get a piece of his delicious ass. Exhausted and injured, Hajime passed out inside the hole he had made. When he woke up, he was surprised to find a holy crystal on top of him, a mythical stone capable of producing healing holy water and dispelling curses. He had learned about it while studying magic to help his friends, who was treating him like shit. Feeling overwhelmed, Hajime cried, not wanting his ass to be touched nor wanting to die. Filled with anger and determination, he made a vow to survive and protect himself. He figured out that Hayama is the one who shot that spell at him and remembered his mocking laugh, and he swore to overcome any obstacles that stood in his way, refusing to let the monster get a piece of that ass. Hajime drinks the holy water, then lures some monsters into a cave, ambushing them for survival. Although the monsters taste awful, he knows he must do whatever it takes to stay alive. However, he chokes on the monster meat, realizing that eating the monster's flesh is altering his DNA and causing pain. He drinks more holy water to save himself and passes out. When Hajime wakes up, he finds that he now looks like a demon. After checking his status, he discovers he gained more levels and new skills. Eating monsters allows him to acquire their abilities and boosts his own. Now, he can eat various monsters, identify minerals, and craft new gear. Hajime collects numerous minerals and uses them to create a gun, keeping the leftover materials. By eating more monsters, he gains even more abilities and levels. He decides to confront the monster that wanted a piece of that ass. He skillfully dodges its attacks, killing it and devouring it. As Hajime encounters more monsters, he continues to acquire new abilities one after another. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the adventurers report their findings from the 65th level of the Orcus Labyrinth. They mention the trapped crystal and the loss of one of the God Chosen. The king and pope order them not to speak of it again, seemingly wanting everyone to forget about Hajime, except for Kaori and Shizuku. Shizuku remembers how Hajime saved them and wonders how Kaori will cope with his presumed death. Deep in the Orcus Labyrinth, Hajime had descended 50 levels and crafted more weapons. He encountered a door guarded by two one-eyed monsters. Curious about what could be behind the door, he wondered if he was finally going to find a busty babe and become a real anime protagonist. The monsters attacked, but Hajime swiftly defeated them using his gun. Inside the room, he found a naked loli with perky personalities. He wanted to develop plot, but his instinct said no. She pleaded for him to stay and told him she'd do anything. Hear me out. Hajime returned and learned that she was a powerful vampire who had been betrayed by her uncle. Hajime felt a connection with her. Hajime used his newfound power to release her from her confinement. Grateful, she asked for his name, and in return, he asked for hers. She requested him to give her a name, and he named her Yu after the moon. Suddenly, another monster attacked them, trying to prevent Yu from leaving the room and venturing into the world. After the attack, Hajime uses holy water on his wound, and Yu pulls the spikes out of his ass. Hajime covers her with his coat, then carries her on his back, hopefully getting a feel for those perky bug bites. They face a tough monster with a strong shell. Hajime attacks the crap-like monster, but the shell is too strong to crack. Suddenly Yu forces herself on him. She starts sucking him off. She started sucking his blood. Together they deliver multiple attacks, and he starts using his military-grade weapons and manages to crack the shell and kill the monster. Hajime shares with Yu that vampires were believed to have been eradicated 300 years ago and asks about her age. She becomes upset, telling him he's being rude. Later, Yu tells him the story of how the Mavericks, who were messengers of God, repelled against their masters. They built many labyrinths as their homes and resided at the end of them. Yu suggests going deeper into the labyrinth to find a way to the surface, and Hajime agrees. He decides to craft more weapons from the materials obtained from the monster. Yu asks Hajime about his past and how he ended up in the labyrinth. Hajime tells her everything, including his reincarnation, betrayal, and the encounter with the monster that touched his behind. Moved by his story, Yu feels a connection with Hajime. Hajime expresses his desire to return home, and Yu becomes saddened as she has no home anymore. Hajime offers to take her with him, and she agrees happily, shimmering with excitement at the thought of having a new home with him. Back on the surface, Amagawa reaches level 50, becoming a full-fledged hero. Only 8 people have the mental endurance to train in the labyrinth, and they will continue to do so. Meanwhile, Hajime and Yu find themselves pursued by dinosaurs with flowers growing from their heads. No matter how many they defeat, the creatures keep coming back. Hajime realizes someone must be controlling them. While they search for the one in control, Yu starts sucking Hajime's blood. They eventually discover a suspicious cave filled with green petals. One of the petals touches Yu, causing her to attack Hajime under their control. Suddenly, a monster with really big bouncy assets starts attacking. Hear me out. Together, they manage to defeat the monster. Hajime offers Yu food, but he remembers she's a vampire. Then she tells him it's more efficient for her to suck him off. I meant suck his blood. Hajime and Yu continue their journey to the deepest level of the labyrinth, mapping it out as they go. They finally encounter a door that appears to be the final challenge. Inside, a huge magical circle spawns a dragon with 6 heads. Initially underestimating its power, they soon realize the dragon is formidable. The white head possesses a healing ability, making the dragon tough to defeat. During the battle, Yu falls into an illusion spell, fearing Hajime will abandon her. He saves her, and they develop mid-battle plot. It seems our boy Hajime is going to be an anime protagonist after all. Hajime recalls his determination to win, driven by past traumatic experiences. Utilizing his new weapons and powers, he deals significant damage to the dragon. However, the dragon strikes back, severely injuring Hajime. Despite losing an eye and being knocked out, Hajime miraculously wakes up again, determined to save Yu. He levels up and uses grenades he crafted to bury the dragon under rubble, finally defeating it. Waking up in a bed in a green forest, Hajime and Yu find are naked. Yu had apparently developed hot plot while Hajime is sleeping. Poor Hajime, he can't get a break, everyone is after his squishy ass. He wakes Yu with a lightning spell, and she hugs him, developing even more plot. Yu explains that they are in the Maverick lair, and Hajime collapsed after the battle. The Maverick has created a special floor with wildlife and a mansion. They explore the mansion and discover a hot spring. Yu wanted to develop a hot spring plot, but Hajime says no. They check all the doors and enter a room, which suddenly lights up, revealing a skeleton on a throne and a magical circle on the ground. Stepping on the circle, a spirit awakens from the skeleton. The spirit introduces himself as Oscar, the man who built the labyrinth and one of the many Mavericks. Oscar cannot answer all of Hajime's questions, but he offers him treasure and powers. In return, he only asks that Hajime doesn't use them for evil purposes. Then, Oscar imprints the truth about this world in Hajime's head. The Mavericks were not evil as the legends say. In fact, it was God who used humans, demons, and monsters for his own entertainment, creating conflicts for his pleasure. The Mavericks tried to stop him, but the people they swore to protect turned against them. As a final act, the Mavericks scattered and created the labyrinths as a trial for those seeking the truth and possibly continuing their cause. Hajime no longer feels obligated to save anyone in this betraying world. His only desire is to return to his own world, and he has Yu, who will leave with him. Additionally, Hajime gains a powerful, rare ability called creation magic, allowing him to create anything he wants and transform materials. Hajime buries Oscar and takes possession of his ring, artifacts, and magic books. With their unique powers, Hajime and Yu become the first duo to clear a labyrinth and acquire its abilities. They also learn that other labyrinths hold numerous treasures and might offer a way back home. Hajime suggests they stay in this place for a while to study and prepare for the fight against other labyrinths. While taking a bath, Yu unexpectedly decides to join Hajime. Yu wants to suck it hard. She wants to suck his blood. She pushes Hajime against her body and they start to wrestle.
Hey! No! Hold on!
The wrestling seems to be going well. Hajime proposes to Yu, declaring their commitment to be together forever. Within a week, Hajime creates new weapons, clothes, and a powerful artificial hand to replace his lost one. Using the power of the ring, he activates a magical circle to transport them to the surface. Meanwhile, Hiro Amagawa and his friends reach the 65th level. They are surprised when the behemoth reappears. This time, they have trained together and attacked it with coordinated efforts. After a challenging battle, they manage to defeat the behemoth. While Kaori remembers Hajime, everyone else has come to terms with his presumed death and moved on. Back on the surface, a girl with rabbit ears and bouncy assets is being chased by a two-headed dragon. Hajime and Yu arrive in a magical circle. The girl runs towards them, claiming she's been waiting for them. Hajime and Yu initially ignore her, but she pleads for their help. The girl begs Hajime to help her, rubbing her bouncy balloons over his legs. Yu gets upset and starts pulling on her ears. That's when the rabbit says,
"Could you really abandon me like that? A beautiful young damsel in distress!"
The girl, named Shay, insists on them saving her people, even when threatened by Hajime. Eventually, Yu suggests they listen to her. The two-headed dragon appears again, and Hajime takes care of it effortlessly. Shay is amazed by Hajime's power while holding his leg again, and that's when Hajime smacks her on the head. "My boy is no simp." Shay explains that she is the oldest daughter of the chief of the bunny tribe and possesses a special type of mana that allows her to see glimpses of the future. Her tribe was forced to leave their village due to their refusal to give her up, which led them to a dangerous place hunted by monsters. Hajime is reluctant to help at first, but Shay reveals that she knows where they are headed, the great tree in the Hall of Trees, surrounded by fog. She offers to help them get there faster since she's a native and knows the way. While Hajime is hesitant, Yu suggests they assist her. They arrive at the Beastmen's town on Hajime's bike, where they find themselves under attack by dragons. Hajime attempts to shoot the dragons, but Shay's big bouncy personality distracts him. To draw the dragons to him, Hajime throws Shay into the sky, allowing him to shoot them down. He then negotiates on behalf of the bunny tribe, ensuring they can live in peace. Impressed by Hajime's abilities, which allow him to use monster abilities without incantations due to having eaten monsters before, Shay decides to join Hajime and Yu on their journey. To prove her worth, Shay duels with Yu, and after several attempts, Shay manages to scratch Yu's cheek. Though Yu tries to hide her feelings, she agrees to let Shay come along. Hajime returns after teaching the Beastmen to survive on their own. Curious about why Shay wants to accompany them, he asks her directly. Shay boldly confesses her love for Hajime. Together, Hajime, Yu, and Shay reach the Great Tree. They attempt to enter using the acquired Maverick Ring but realize they need all the other rings. As a result, they decide to search for other labyrinths first and leave this one for last. They reach the next labyrinth location where a maverick named Meldy introduces herself as one of the mavericks and invites them in. Inside, the labyrinth is filled with traps, and they spend hours trying to find the entrance to the main hall. Shay seems to be getting the end of the stick as she gets stuck in a sticky material. She also gets a facial. Her face gets covered in Never mind. In the main hall, they encounter armored monsters that keep spawning no matter how many they defeat. The battle becomes intense, and they are pushed into a room filled with flying platforms. Inside the room, they meet Meldy again. Hajime tries breaking her armor, but it seems impossible. It seems inside this room their magic is weaker. However, Shay uses physical strength to fight. They pin her down using Yu's ice magic, and Hajime uses his hard rod along with Shay's bouncy hammers. Strong hammer to destroy Meldy's armor. In the treasure room, Hajime acquires Meldy's ring, which grants them the power of gravitational magic. Yu is the most suitable to wield this power. They also collect various treasures, but Meldy kicks them out of the labyrinth with a water vortex, leaving them soaked. Outside, Shay gets startled by a talking fish and loses consciousness. Hajime revives her using CPR, but when she wakes up, she mistakenly believes Hajime was trying to develop mid-drowning plot and sticks her long-ass tongue in his throat. Seeking shelter, they find an inn to spend the night. When Yu asks for separate rooms, one for her and Hajime, and another for Shay, Shay refuses and insists on staying with Hajime, saying,
"After that, I'll ask Hajime to take my virginity!"
Hajime arrived at the next town and was summoned by the head of the Adventurer Guild. There was a rumor about 3 powerful adventurers with extraordinary abilities. The head of the guild asked for help. A group of adventurers, including the third Count's son, went to the mountainside to investigate some monsters but didn't return. Another group was sent to find them, but they also didn't come back. At first, Hajime declined the request, but the guildmaster offered him anything he wanted in return. Hajime asked for the guildmaster's agreement to fulfill any favor he might ask for in the future, and the guildmaster agreed. Miss Aiko and some students, who refused to fight, were on an expedition in a town called Or. Their mission was to assist local farmers in growing crops like rice. While having a meal at a restaurant, they learned that the spice traders had stopped coming to the town due to monster issues in the mountains. As Hajime and his group entered the restaurant, Miss Aiko recognized him and approached him, even though he had changed a lot. She asked about what happened to him, but he refused to acknowledge her and responded with silence. She asks him about the big booby rabbit and the flat lowly you, and Shay answers we both belong to Hajime. The Templar Knight who was accompanying Miss Aiko insulted Hajime and made offensive remarks about Shay's ears, threatening her. Yu responded by calling the knight small manners. The knight reached for his sword in anger, and Hajime swiftly shot off his armor, dislocating the knight's shoulder. Hajime told him that it was his final warning and that he wanted nothing to do with them. He told them to get out of his way. During the night, Hajime sneaks into Miss Aiko's room. She initially thinks he's there to develop some plot, but he surprises her by revealing the truth about the world, the Mavericks, God and the power at the end of the labyrinth. He also informs her that one of her students tried to kill him, leaving her shocked and in disbelief. The next morning, Hajime and his group are getting ready to leave when Miss Aiko and her students insist on accompanying them. Hajime warns that they might slow him down, but they persist, so he has no choice but to take them along. Hajime has a car in addition to his bike, which allows him to carry everyone. They arrive at the location where the Count's son disappeared, and Hajime uses his drones to scout the area. They discover the broken gear and traces of huge monsters. Further investigation leads them to a waterfall, where they find Will, the Count's son, terrified and in need of rescue. Will shares information of the endless monsters and the Black Dragon. He feels guilty for the lives lost to the monsters, but Hajime snaps him back to reality. As they leave the cave, the Black Dragon returns and tries to attack Will. Hajime uses his shield to protect everyone from the dragon's powerful blast. Then, he orders Yu to guard everyone while he takes down the dragon, and Shay delivers the final strike. With the dragon cornered, Hajime decides to wake it up and potentially end its life. So my boy Hajime decided to take a metal rod and sticks it in the dragon's ass, waking it up and delivering some plot. As the group confronts the dragon, they discover that the dragon is actually a girl named Tio from the dragonborn species. Yu asks the dragon why she attacked the adventurers when Hajime starts shoving it hard and twisting it.
Questions!
It's going in deeper!
Tio explains that she was under the control of a sorcerer who forced her to attack Will and his companions. Will is skeptical of her story, but Yu vouches for Tio's honesty and honor, which are characteristics known among the Dragonborn. Hajime doesn't care and was about to stick his rod deep. Use the metal rod to end her life when Yu suggests they let her go, since she is innocent and was not acting of her own will. Eventually, they decide to release her. Tio seems to be enjoying Hajime's rod, the metal rod. She asks Hajime to remove it, and when he starts doing so, it results in Tio's. Tio informs them that an army led by the sorcerer is marching towards the town, and Hajime confirms this using his drones. The army consists of around 60,000 monster. Tio says she can help, but Hajime's rod made it difficult to move at the moment. That's when Hajime gives her a disgusted look, making her think about plot development with him. Hajime drags her away so she can help warn the town. In the town, Miss Aiko urges Hajime to help, and he agrees as a favor for his teacher. Everyone prepares for the upcoming battle. Tio expresses her desire to be with Hajime and follow him wherever he goes, but Hajime ignores her advances. The monsters reached the town, and Hajime and the others launched everything they had at them, reducing the monster numbers. However, their mana was depleted, so Hajime and Shay resorted to hand-to-hand combat. They realized they needed to take out the big monsters and find the one controlling them. After defeating a few, they discovered that the sorcerer behind it all was actually one of Hajime's former classmates named Shimizu. Shimizu had been deceived by demons, who convinced him that he could gain acknowledgement by becoming one of them. The demons manipulated him into planning the attack on the town, including targeting Miss Aiko, who they referred to as the goddess of plenty for her contributions to the people's knowledge and prosperity. Despite his actions, Miss Aiko forgave Shimizu immediately, but he took advantage of the situation and took her hostage, demanding Hajime to give up his weapons. Hajime flatly refused, and Shay lunged at Shimizu while Hajime shot him. Even though Shimizu pleaded for his life, Hajime decided to end him, disregarding Miss Aiko's plea for mercy. Hajime left, declaring that there was no longer any mercy left in his heart. Hajime and his group, along with Tio, arrive at the next town and hand over Will. They request status plates and then settle in an inn. Hajime notices they are being followed and warns that he will attack anyone who tries anything, even a god. Tio reflects on her past, recalling how her town was destroyed during a war, and her father told her that a powerful being would one day come to free the people. As a reward for Shay's growth and power, she goes on a date with Hajime. While walking in the city, they sense a weak presence of a beast child underground. They find a small mermaid girl who has been captured and was going to be sold as a slave. Hajime and Shay decide to take her with them. However, the slave master's people chase after them. After taking care of the girl, Hajime leaves her with the guards, realizing he can't take care of a child. Later, the guardhouse is attacked, and the girl is kidnapped again. The kidnappers leave a message for Hajime, demanding the bunny girl in exchange for the mermaid girl's safety. In response, Hajime, Yu, Shay, and Tio decide to destroy all the slave traders in the town to find the girl. Hajime shoots the boss, rescuing her again. The mermaid girl, named Mio, starts calling Hajime Papa and refuses to call him anything else. Yu, Shay, and Tio express their desire to have children with Hajime. Hajime arrives at the town near the Orcus Labyrinth, where he was reincarnated, and meets with the guild master, introduced by the head of the Adventurer Guild. His classmate, Endo, seeks his help. Endo is surprised to see Hajime, the once weak and bullied boy, now standing before him. The hero's party faced a demon in the labyrinth that can control monsters. They fought hard, but the demon's ability to spawn more monsters made it difficult. Shizuku asks Endo to seek help from the surface. Many of the heroes, including Captain Mel, are in critical condition. Hajime initially refuses but eventually decides to help, thinking about Kaori. Running through the labyrinth, Hajime impressively takes down a behemoth with a single shot, leaving Endo impressed. He finds a shortcut to where his classmates are. Initially underestimated, Hajime proves his strength by defeating the monsters one by one, targeting the demon's healer and impressing his classmates. During the battle, Hajime shows no mercy and extracts information from the demon about her powers. His friends begin to question his cold-heartedness and immense power. Hajime deduces that another demon cleared a labyrinth like he did, gaining the ability to control monsters. Before her demise, the demon warns Hajime that her lover will seek revenge, but Hajime remains unfazed. Later, Kaori confesses her love for Hajime, but he reveals that he already has feelings for someone else. Although Kaori wishes to join them, Hajime declines, but Yu encourages her, emphasizing the strong bond between her and Hajime. The next morning, Hajime, his group, and Kaori set out on their journey to explore more labyrinths and perhaps find a way home or confront the gods of this world. Thank you for watching till the end. Check out other recaps.